All right, as we were discussing earlier, Hurricane Ian has had a devastating effect on Florida, and I encourage everyone to pray for the folks of Florida, but not just pray. We need to help, and this is a time that Americans come together. And it's not just watching those in government. I'm grateful. I've been a first responder, grateful for what they do, but they cannot do all of this. And some of this, as Congressman Donalds was talking about as he was wrapping up his interview with us, he's talking about weeks, months. Some of this is years. In fact, Samaritans Purse, as they have responded to so many of these storms, when I was pastoring, we hosted them at our church. They were there for 2.5 years after the flood back in 2016 in my home state. And they stay with it until the work is done. Joining me now to discuss the work that Samaritans Purse is doing on the ground and will be doing in the weeks, months, and probably years ahead is Edward Graham, Vice President of Operations for Samaritans Purse. Edward, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Tony, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Well, first off, I want to thank you and all the team at Samaritans Purse for the great job that you guys do. Anytime there's a crisis such as this, you guys are there. So tell us what you're learning and hearing from your team that's already on the ground in Florida.
Yeah, you're watching the news as well, and our team's reporting similar. The devastation, especially the wind damage, the water damage, the flooding, the storm surge that came into many of these places. Fort Myers, one of the epicenter there, we have teams looking at. My sister is actually from there. It's where she lives, has a home there. She's actually up with us right now here in the mountains, getting away from it. But the teams are responding to those locations. And we always work through the local church. As you just talked about, we've partnered and lived at your church. And so we're getting the story and the assessment from them, but it's great devastation. I mean, massive amounts. So our teams have left this morning out of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina with our equipment to head up and link up with our assessors and to get the volunteers out there as soon as possible.
Now, you're still doing work in Kentucky from the flooding that took place there just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that's correct. We've been up in Kentucky. Matter of fact, we're still in Mayfield, Kentucky, where the tornado hit last Christmas, where we're doing rebuilds, building homes for the non-insured and underinsured there. We're responding in the other part of Kentucky to the eastern part with the floods. We're here now. We're still in Louisiana and parts of there doing rebuilds. As you said, we don't leave until the job's done. But we're going to be doing disaster relief in Florida. I have a feeling not just for weeks, but for months. It's going to be bad. And then from there, we'll assess about rebuild if we need to help those getting back into homes. But as you stated before, you need to be praying. Pray for this part of Florida. The storm's still going on. We have left one of our truck teams here in North Carolina available to go out with volunteers to see where this storm goes. If not, we'll surge it down to Florida to plus up our efforts there. But this is where we partner with the local church. The church does great things for their communities. And after we leave, we want to see the church thriving and following up with those new believers and making sure they're being discipled.
And of course, you go in with Billy Graham Ministries and their chaplains, disaster relief chaplains. And I can just say from experience, when we partnered with Samaritans Purse during the course of the year, as the ministry went on, we baptized over 100 people in our churches. So it's a holistic ministry, not just helping people muck out their homes and piece their lives back together, but it really is giving them hope. And that's what's so, I think, important to know about the work that Samaritans Purse does.
You're exactly right. You know, at Samaritans Purse, we meet the immediate needs, the immediate physical, just like the Good Samaritan, where he bandaged, he gave water, he gave transportation. But as you know, we both know the most important part of that story is a debt had to be paid. He paid the debt to the innkeeper to make sure that he could stay at that house. The debt that Jesus Christ paid, that's what we want these homeowners to know when they've lost hope, that God has not forsaken them. And so the Billy Graham Rapid Response Chaplains do an incredible job with that. We also deployed teams down to Puerto Rico. And we've been down there serving. We had an aircraft go down there, our cargo plane go down earlier in the week, and they're serving there. And we're also putting another hospital in Ukraine. And where those cities that were just liberated, we have BGA trained RT chaplains there serving alongside our doctors.
So, Edward, as folks are concerned about what's happening in Florida and they want to do something, there's ways to help. They can give money to the Samaritans Purse, but they can also begin to line up to volunteer to go down and help in the relief effort.
No, you're exactly right. First, ask for your prayers. You already mentioned that. And that's the most important part, is pray for the state and for those homeowners and pray for our teams that are responding. But if you're willing and able, And you cannot do it this week, but maybe it's next week. We're going to be there, as you said, for weeks or months. But go to SamaritansPurse.org and it'll say how to get involved. And you can sign up for this response here in Florida and get down there. It doesn't matter what your background, construction, you could be a school teacher, a coach, it doesn't matter. We just need people that are willing to go out and serve and love their neighbors. So it's going to be tarping roofs, mucking out homes, cutting back the drywall. We want to get these homeowners quickly back into their houses.
All right, Edward, we'll be checking back in with you next week once you get down there on the ground and get an assessment of the needs, and we'll encourage people to get in touch with you guys, to volunteer and to give money, contribute to the great work that you guys do. We really appreciate it.
Well, Tony, we appreciate it. Thank you for your program.